Bula and welcome again to JustPeace Talanoa BURE at COVID-19, a platform that brings together women, men, youth leaders, network members, and different stakeholders engaging at the forefront of disaster and at COVID-19. Amidst the challenges, we also acknowledge our values and traditions, our polite ways of doing and engaging with each other as a Vanua. As we proceed, we also acknowledge the traditional owners of our land, back in the days with our ancestors reaffirming us at this evening's Talanoa. Things were done differently with high values and respect to consult with our elders, our roots and Vanua that is united in the sense of our human existence, our environment and our relationships with our land. A major reflection this evening is how technology, as much as it connects us long distance, it seems to also divide us locally, and our values in the perspectives of relationships, Vewikani, our Talanoa, Ve Talanoa, Se Vivosaki. These terms in our ITaukei context holds vital roles and values in sustaining relationships, which is vital at a time such as this where isolation is being enforced. Let us hear more at the Talanoa. Joining us at the BURE panel today is Vasemaca Gumatua, a retired nurse and midwife, and Simione Sevudredre from the Ministry of ITaukei Affairs.
Welcome to Transcend Oceania's JustPeace Talanoa BURE at COVID-19. This is a platform that brings together community representatives, leaders, women and youth to share stories and priorities that hold values to them, their people and the Vanua. Through their experiences, there are also lessons learned and recommendations and possible solutions and plans to meet the current situation. Joining us here in this dialogue and in this episode are Vasemaca Gumatua and Simione Sevudredre. Welcome, Vasemaca, and welcome, Simione. Maybe if we can start by you saying a little bit about yourself, and we begin with you, Vasemaca.
My name is Vasemaca Gumatua. I hail from the beautiful island of Kandavo. My village is Lawaki in the province of in the Tikin of Nakaslek and the province of Kandavo. I am 64 years now. I have been working in the Ministry of Health. I was working in the Ministry of Health from 1976 till 2020, last year in September, when I really retired. I am a registered nurse and a registered midwife, as well as a public health nurse.
Thank you. Thank you, Vasemaca, and welcome. Simi, would you like to say a little bit more about yourself?
Simione Sevudredre is my name, and just like my fellow worker here, I am the original from Lawak in Levu. They are our number two. We also have this joking relationship with the photocopies. I work with the Ministry of ITaukei Affairs, particularly in the area of implementing of UNESCO's 2003 convention regarding culture, the verbal aspects, the non-verbal aspects, etc., etc. For now, that suffices.
Thank you, and welcome again, Simione. So let's now begin the Talanoa by you talking about the important things that you value in your culture. And I understand you both come from the ITaukei community, but you come from Kandavo and he comes from Levu. So there probably are things that you value more in your culture in Kandavo. Would you like to talk about some of those things, Vasemaca?
I would like to talk about, when I talk about culture, the values, I have to talk about my identity. My identity as a ITaukei, my identity as a woman, And that is entwined into my life to be who I am today. And my surroundings, I come from that beautiful village. There are obligations that each family. So I learned from a very young age about respect. So family value is very important in my life, so that I can pass it on to my children, to my grandchildren. You know, my fish, my plant, my surroundings, the environment, the mangroves, that's entwined into my culture, who I am. But firstly, it's to have confidence in myself, to believe in myself. And I'm also a believer in creation.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Vasemaca. It's your identity. You value who you are as an indigenous person. You value who you are as a woman, and valuing respect and the things that are around you as part of who you are and your identity. Thank you for sharing that, Vasemaca. Let's come to you, Simi. What are the most important things that you value in your culture, given that you're a person who works in the Ministry of the ITaukei Affairs, particularly around the culture of the indigenous people? For you, what are the most important things that you value?
Thank you. My response would be more in from the hill approach, definition, understanding. When we talk about values, what my Taubu has mentioned here is very much part of the values. If we take a look from the mountain, there would be, we can say, 5 general, very broad values. Like what the Greek philosopher Socrates said, know yourself, know yourself. One is our identity, who am I? Which translates into many other little aspects, which would mean who am I as a name, as a person, who am I genealogically, biologically, who am I in terms of my rank, where do I speak, where do I not speak, where do I stand, where do I sit, etc., etc. Then we have another general value which is called vayal, or spirituality. Not only in Fiji indigenous, also in many indigenous societies in the Pacific, the spirituality, things do not happen by mistake. There's always a reason. There's a spiritual world that is understood. Long before Christianity came, it was already there. So it was a hand in glove when Christianity arrived, the spirituality, that there is always a spiritual side of Wakayalo, things happen. The third value is our Vanua. There are protocols, there are customs, ways of doing things the right way, ways of speaking the right way, and there are also places where we are to be silent. So there's a time, there's a place, there's a space to be seen and to be heard. It comes under the ambit of the Wakavanua, the customs, the protocols of the land. Another general value is Veokani, relationship, kinship, blood and traditional, etc. And the last one would be the value of respect, Wakarokoroko. And respect, there are the verbal aspects, there are the non-verbal aspects. So this is just the umbrella, or looking from the mountain, of the values that have been articulated tonight and the previous episodes, generally speaking.
While you say that, from the mountain, a perspective, looking at those 5 key values, can you also see it as the foundations of living your life as an indigenous or a Taukei person?
I like what this American writer, professor, and political activist Eli Wiesel mentioned, and he said, I quote, "Without memory, there is no culture. Without memory, there would be no civilization, no society, no future. Yes, this is our memory. That is the foundation. We lose track of that. We are like a canoe cast adrift in the ocean at the mercy of the waves and the wind.
And Vasemaca, you talk about respect, which is one of the values that he talked about with those key values, which also lays the foundation of how we need to live our lives. There's respect for each other, respect for the elders, respect for the vanua, respect for everything that connects to us as indigenous and ITaukei people. We'll leave it there for now, and we will come back in the next segment. You are watching Transcend Oceania's JustPeace Talanoa at COVID-19. Don't go away. Join us after this break. Welcome back to this episode and to this segment. And we are joined here by Vasemaca Gumatua and Simione Sevudredre. Welcome again to this segment. So in the previous segment, we've started to talk about values, and it was very interesting how you both looked at it and how the values that you talked about are connected. Let's move the conversation forward now to talk about what are the issues of concern for you now, given those values that you talked about, the changes that have been part of our lives, that has come into our lives. What are your concerns now, Vasemaca?
Vinaka, on reflection, clinical experience as a nurse, as a midwife, there's a lot of emerging concerns that concerns us today. But I still go back to family value. If you have respect in the family, there's the start of it. Everything starts at home. Everything starts at home. So, in that case, being a woman, I'll go back to creation. You have to know your responsibilities, why you were created as a woman. And in the family, it involves father, mother, and children. And everything is there, which now is a concern, because the right of family value, laws has been given by the government, the rights of children, the rights of women, the rights of fathers, the right of men, I haven't heard. But in the family, we are the helpmeet. We are helpers. We help in the decision making so that family value is entwined into our culture, to know who we are, what to teach our children, so that we know our obligation to the church, obligation to the vanua, obligation in relations to your health. So it is very important. I am an advocate of the importance of women's health. So, and that, involves our family value. If I know my responsibilities and commitment as a woman, I've been hearing, gender violence, violence in the home. But if we know who we are, if the men or leaders of the home, they know who they are, because the Bible says,
and so the issue for you, Vasemaca, now is there's no more respect now in the family. If we have to start from there, respect is gone, and therefore we face a lot of problems in the family. Thank you, Vasemaca. Let's come to you, Simione. What are the issues of concern for you now? You talked about the 5 values very eloquently earlier on. So what are the key issues for you now?
Well, there are many, but I choose to speak on one, and it's particularly with regards to our vanua values, our customs, our protocols. I mentioned Eli Wiesel, without memory there is no culture. And today given the increasing level of violence, both domestic and even in the urban setting, which has cascaded to the young, we have forgotten that our customs, our traditions were put in place a long time ago, and they were proactive advocates of peace. So too, peace or so too is not the absence of war. There are protocols. I'll give an example. We have customs that for the presentation of children to their mother's village. Even way back, when a woman was expecting, the husband has to notify. There are customs for him to notify the wife's family, etc. Why did they do this? These were proactive ways of promoting goodwill. Not when there was a conflict, then they went about to promote goodwill and try and to be reactive in peace. There are customs, the memory of those customs have become lost as we have disconnected from our traditional moorings and move into today's contemporary settings. But so for me, the overarching issue is the memory. We are now seeking peace through other alternatives, but what was the memory, the foundation that worked? Bring that out, rebuild and adapt that, which is why, with due respect to the various contemporary advocates of peace, the indigenous traditional ones, they do not hit only at the head when it comes to notions of peace, notions of culture, proactive notions of peace. They also hit at the heart. It was packaged in such a way that hit at the subjective, at the yellow, the realm of the heart, and also at the mind. Which is why at one time it worked. We've always been told that there was warfare and cannibalism. That was a facet of one. When the values and the customs are trampled upon, this is what you get, the warfare, the violence. So the memory, there are actually anecdotes in history, oral history, of tribes not going to war because of these active customs. These are proactive customs that promote peace. For now, that should suffice.
Thank you. Thank you, Simione. We'll leave it there for the moment. You are watching Transcend Oceania's JustPeace Talanoa BURE at COVID-19. Join us after this break. Welcome back. We are joined here by Vasemaca Gumatua and Simione Sevudredre. So in this segment, let's move the conversation forward, the Talanoa forward, to talking about what have been the lessons learned for you and what are key recommendations that you would like to put forward based on those experiences and the lessons learned. So let's invite Vasemaca. What have been the lessons learned for you, and what are some recommendations you want to put forward?
Identifying the gaps, the weakness in the home, so that can build up a reputation in the home. You know, I said initially about the respect. Respect should be taught in the home, and that is the lesson learned. Because nowadays, that has been taken away by the laws of the government. Sometimes the head of the family is not conscious that has been reported because of the crisis that is happening in the family, because of women's right, because of children's right. I still advocate that everything should be a lot of Talanoa sessions like this, even from the home, so that we know we can move forward, so that we can identify our weakness, our strengths, and plan for our family. Family, you know, family reputation, or even our relationship amongst us in the family, father, mother, and the children. So there should be a lot of Talanoa session in the family to build that up. Then I'm sure, I believe that will close up the gaps that is found in the family, because we value that.
Vasemaca, so what I'm hearing is the lesson learned for you is there's a lot of changes that are happening that has affected the value of respect being lived out in the family and maybe out of the family also, because of the many changes that are happening in our lives currently. And you are recommending, your recommendation is create a lot of Talanoa sessions in the family where the parents and their children can sit together and have very good conversations about the issues that are affecting them as a family. Thank you, Vasemaca. Simione.
I'd like to build on what my kin Vasemaca has mentioned about the Talanoa spaces, and with regards to bringing back our memory. And I'll continue from the customs that are proactive advocates of peace in the community, in the society, in the family, in the Vanua. I like what one of the guests 2 episodes or 3 episodes back here, she mentioned from the Methodist Youth Fellowship that there is a program in the MYF, is called the Four Corners, where they discuss. There is no time given now for discussion for children and youth on customs, the notions of respect. Not only that, because we've become so modernized, our space to speak, we have given it up to be silent by watching TV or by going on telephone, mobile. So there is no the space to speak. Not only that, there is also the demonstrative part of culture. We can talk about a lot, but culturally, as indigenous people, not only in Fiji, in the Pacific and the world at large, children learn through imitation. The fable about the crab, mother crab telling the baby crab, crawl straight, and baby crab said, but you set the example, I follow your lead. The talking needs to be accompanied by the walking. Those spaces where we actually demonstrate needs to be reclaimed back. They were present once upon a time. We subconsciously, slowly let go of it. And then we are crying out foul, red card, yellow card, etc., etc. We must take the ownership and bring back the Talanoa and the demonstrations in the family, in the various units of society, from the church, from the community, in the youth groups, etc. Talk about it, but then there has to be a demonstration. Otherwise, it will be just like the fable about the crab, the mother telling the child to walk straight when the one who's even giving the instruction is not walking straight. So that, for me, is the emerging talk, but also walk the talk.
Thank you. That's really very interesting, Simione, when you talked about it. I remember growing up, you know, we used to have time with our grandfather and grandmothers telling us stories, and stories where the values are being, you know, taught to us through those stories. But it's also the demonstration, as you talk about. Was there any other thing you wanted to say, Vasemaca, in terms of recommendations? You've talked about how respect is lost because, you know, of the changes that are happening in our lives, particularly in our families. Was there any other thing you wanted to talk about in terms of recommendations?
Yes, thank you. I would like to give the recommendation of counseling, you know, counseling sessions in all areas, all aspects of life. That means provincial administration, the church, youth groups, we have counselors, I believe, women, But we have to have counselors, not only when there is a national disaster and they have to go and counsel on what has been happening. It should be there as a program, because those people who are in the village, who are in the communities, they need those. They need those because they have been, living in those communities from, a very long time, from generations. And there's a saying that says, if you need development, you have to accept change. If you need development, you have to accept change. What is happening now, we just have to change our mindset.
And so you're saying, Vasemaca, if the Talanoa that you alluded to earlier on, and the same with the Simione, if it can happen in the home, where do people take their stories to? If they have issues, who do they go and talk to? If they need somebody to listen to them, who do they go to talk to? So you need to have those people you are calling counselors who are able to listen to people and the issues that they have. Unfortunately, time has caught up with us. Would like to take this time on behalf of Transcend Oceania to thank you both for your time and for sharing very important lessons and recommendations for us that everybody can learn from. Not only here in Fiji, I believe, in the Pacific and all over the world. Thank you for your time, thank you for your sharing, and thank you for being with us in this Talanoa. And thank you, viewers, for joining us.
As we conclude our Just Peace Talanoa BURE at COVID-19, we are reminded once again to enable people living just peace and nonviolence in Oceania, in the Pacific, and here in Fiji. We need to be both mindful and maintain safety protocol, mask up, home isolation may be tough. At the same time, the need for healthcare, leaving no one behind, for inclusive peace, security, and safety with dignity amidst the changes and transitions we are going through. I'm Adi Vasulevu at Transcend Oceania. Join us at the same time next week. Vinaka Vakalevu.